What's up, guys? It's Meg, and it's that time of the week again where we get to look dead ahead to see what's coming on next week's episode of The Walking Dead. Today we're discussing our thoughts and predictions for the season 6 finale, episode 16, called Last Day on Earth. This is probably one of the most anticipated episodes of the entire series. We've been waiting for this day for a really long time. And let's get right into it because this will probably end up being a long video. I want to say thank you to Victor Diaz. Hopefully you're watching this. You are on my Facebook page, the Weekly Walker Talk Facebook page. And he was the very first person who confirmed for me, or who told me that Daryl was shot in the shoulder and not actually killed. As I said in my review, I wasn't able to rewatch that episode until the next day, so I was very, very worried. But he was the first person who told me that it was just a shoulder shot and that this might actually end up protecting Daryl from Negan. Because if you remember, and now these are comic spoilers probably in this video, so if you're watching this, just be aware that you may get spoiled for the comics or for what may happen in the episode. I don't know any official filming spoilers though, so just to get that out of the way. But he said that in the comics, if you remember, when Negan is trying to decide who to kill out of the group here, before he gets to the eeny, meeny, miny, mo portion of it, he's saying, like, he says the race card, like he can't kill the black person. I think was Michonne. I can't even remember. I'm assuming Michonne was there at that point. I can't remember the lineup all of a sudden in the comic, but he was like, I can't, they'll call me a racist or something like that. And then he's like, I can't kill the injured guy, which was Carl at the time, I think. I haven't reread that part of the comics in a long time for obvious reasons. It was very traumatic for me. But Victor said that he thinks this might actually save Daryl from Negan's bat, Lucille. That Negan may say, oh, I can't kill the injured guy because Daryl is already pretty badly injured, and that wouldn't be as fun killing him than it would be to kill a healthy, normal, happy person, unfortunately. So still my prediction for Lucille is Glenn. Unfortunately, I'm gonna be really, really sad. Glenn is one of my favorites. When I thought he died in the thank you episode, I was really torn up over it. So don't take this as I want Glenn to die, because I don't. But someone has to die in this episode. So if all of the signs are right, and they have indeed been pointing to Glenn, then he'll be the one to go. But I want to get started with the promos. I want to start first with a promo that's just about Morgan. However, at the very beginning of this promo, we see kind of a black image here with light shining through, and we hear the whistling, the same whistling that Dwight and his group of saviors use to alert each other. It's a signal. And so this portion right here just tells us that Daryl is in fact alive. He's not dead. He didn't die in the last episode. When Dwight said, you'll be all right, he was actually talking about Daryl being all right and surviving this. So at this point, I believe it's from Daryl's point of view here. He may have a bag over his head, or he may just be so out of it and in so much pain that he can't open his eyes all the way. But you do kind of see people walking, like shadows possibly walking, if it is a bag over his head. So they just kind of give us that little tidbit in the promo. The rest of the promo is actually about Morgan. We see that Morgan is walking still. He's on foot. He finds the horse. Now this is the horse that the guy that they met at the barn, that Rick wanted to kill. Remember, that guy said that he was missing a horse, and he said, have you seen my horse? And then they said no, and Morgan said, have you seen our friend? Basically, Morgan prevented Rick from killing this guy when he ran off and didn't respond to Rick's question. Now, there have been a lot of fan theories that this guy is from the Kingdom, which is another community in the comics. Now, I don't remember this portion where the guards wear armor, so that was a surprise to me when a lot of people were saying, oh, do you think it could be from the Kingdom? Is this a nod to the Kingdom that we'll potentially see the Kingdom in season 7? If, in fact, the guards from the Kingdom did wear armor, which I can't remember at this point if they did or didn't. I know that they were on horses though, so it would make sense. I think they were on horses, weren't they? Am I crazy? You know, there's this line between the show and the comics, and sometimes now that the comics are I mean, now that the show is catching up quite a bit to the comics, I find myself going, did that happen in the comics or did that happen in the show? I tend to get, you know, a little muddled in there. But if this theory, you know, if indeed the guards at the kingdom wear this armor, then I think that yes, that could very well be a guard from the kingdom. And then the bigger question is if or will that eventually lead Morgan or Carol, if they both survive the season finale, will it lead them to the kingdom? I'm not sure that we are going to see Carol in the next episode. I hope that we see her in the finale, but ever since she left that car and was wounded, we haven't really seen her, and it's been more about Morgan's journey finding her. So it'll be interesting to see if Morgan actually finds her in the finale, and kind of what is going to happen there. We see as Morgan is walking and he sees the horse, he also sees the sign in the ground that says, "You are alive." And I was kind of taken aback, like, why would someone put a sign there saying you are alive? Like, doesn't really make any sense. But then I realized, then when he walks up to the horse here and he's petting the horse, he's saying, "You're fine, you are alive," and you see him smile. And it is kind of one of those positive things where maybe the person who put that sign there is kind of reminding people, like, hey, be happy, at least you're alive here, or remember, you're still alive. And it's kind of gives you hope. And at least that's how I took it. The sign and seeing the horse, it made me hopeful, and seeing Morgan's attitude made me hopeful. Now, we do see that the savior that was the last man standing in Carol's attack is following after Morgan. Now, he followed them off the road. We saw the savior go off after them. He picked up the rosary. He is injured. He has a gunshot wound in one of his shoulders, I think, which is weird to me a little bit because it's almost the same kind of wound as Daryl. So I'm hoping that there's no like weird thing going on there and it's just like convenient that he was shot in the shoulder, I guess. I don't know. But we do see that he is bleeding and the blood is going down over the rosary, which also seems kind of ominous. And he is following along the same path that Morgan is taking. As we see in this image here, we see his footsteps and we see the horse footprint, Morgan's horse. So he is definitely following Morgan. Now, will it happen that the savior does catch up to them? It would seem like it's leading that way in this next episode. So I think it's safe to say at this point, because it's a 90-minute episode, which we know is never quite 90 minutes, is it? But I think it's safe to say that a majority of this episode will be about Morgan, this savior, and potentially Carol. And then, you know, the other half is going to be about Rick's group. It's hard to say which group is going to get more airtime during the episode, but hopefully, I'm hoping that Carol and Morgan both survive this. I just have this feeling that they are going to have some sort of run-in with the savior, and I'm wondering, and hoping not, but I'm wondering if, you know, Morgan could potentially die here. Carol could die here. She does have a bad injury. She was bleeding quite a bit. There is still a potential for a death here, but I think it's positive with this thought of the kingdom kind of looming in the future that there is potential for them both to survive and maybe go to the kingdom. When Morgan said to Rick in the last episode, when Rick asked him, "Will you come back?" and he says, "Yes, but if I don't come looking for me." I found that line very interesting. He didn't want anyone coming and looking for him. And I think that kind of tells us or hints at the Morgan's potential future here. Like, will he end up not coming back and we may not see them until way farther down the road again? I think that would be the most interesting. I'm hoping for them both to survive at this point. So moving on to the next promo. This is kind of the main promo for the episode. Oh my gosh, it looks so exciting and terrifying at the same time. So if you remember at the end of the last episode, Maggie was in excruciating pain back at Alexandria. We don't know what's wrong with her. We don't know what's wrong with the baby, but something is not going right at this point and she probably needs medical help. Now, my first thought was when Rick made it back to Alexandria and he asked Abraham, did Michonne come back? Are they back yet? And when he realized that Michonne and the rest of the group, Rosita, Daryl, Glenn, were not back, he was going to go out after them. But I think we may see Maggie in such pain that she needs to go to the hilltop. A lot of people have said this as well. This would be a good opportunity at this point, because we know Maggie had no intention of going on any of the search parties. But if Glenn is the chosen one here for Lucille, we have to have Maggie there somehow. So, because we know that Maggie has made this decision not to go out on these runs anymore, they have to have the writers have to have a reason for her to be taken outside of Alexandria and be with Glenn in that moment. So there is a good chance that Rick is getting ready to go out and find Michonne and Glenn and Rosita and Daryl. He has got Eugene, Abraham, Aaron, Carl, and Sasha all with him, and he is in the RV. So does Enid come running out to Rick and ask for help? Or, you know, Maggie knows that there is an obstetrician, which is, if you guys don't know, it's a doctor that you see when you are pregnant, and he is Maggie's best shot at surviving this, keeping the baby alive here if, you know, she's having some sort of problem there. So I have, you know, this idea, and I think kind of a lot of people are thinking this, that Rick will then change his mind and take her to the hilltop and then go looking for Michonne and Daryl and Rosita. I'm getting confused here with all these different groups out. But I think somehow Maggie will end up in the RV with Rick and co. We don't see her in the promo at all, but I think there's a good chance that also Enid could be with her and wanting to take her, you know, go with her to the hilltop to stay with her and make sure she's okay. We do see them growing together and forming this bond in this last, you know, half of the season. So I do think that Enid will come along too, but they're probably both in the RV and not wanting to leave the RV at this point. At least that's what I think. There is a chance that, you know, Maggie is still going to be back at Alexandria, and maybe someone else will get the Glenn death, so we don't need Maggie to come out. But there's definitely something wrong with the baby at this point, and they didn't throw that in there for nothing. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Moving right along, they are on the road and they come upon the Saviors. The Saviors have blocked the road. They have this mystery man on the ground, and we don't really know who he is, but as they roll up in the RV, this guy is still alive. He's on his stomach, and you can actually, if you slow it down, you can actually see him kind of moving his arms underneath him and looking like he's about to roll over. Then the scene changes. Then when we see this guy again, we don't see his face conveniently in the promo, because I think it's gonna be someone we know. And he's on his back. Is he alive? Is he dead at this point? We don't know. I have a feeling that he's either going to get seriously injured or killed at this point, because Rick says we can make a deal right here, right now, and the Saviors say, we don't negotiate. So safe to say there's gonna be some sort of shootout here. I think that our group gets away. Then, as they're driving along again, they come across a walker barrier. We see Rick, we see, I think it's Eugene, we see Aaron, and Aaron is going up to kill the walkers, and then all of a sudden there is shooting, and we see off to the left-hand side, Sasha is shooting up at someone. So it's more than likely there are more Saviors here. Now, is this Dwight and his group that will eventually, you know, take, you know, be chasing our group and leading them or herding them towards Negan? I don't know. I don't know where Dwight's group comes into play here. I do have a very strong feeling that their group is going to meet up with Negan at the end and meet up with Rick, and everyone's going to come together at this point. So it's just, you know, kind of wondering, well, where does Dwight's group fit into this interaction with Rick and his group here? So are they the ones shooting here near the walker barrier? Hard to say at this point. Again, we think our group gets away. But as we see in this next image, that Abe and Rick are carrying someone. Someone is injured. Now, is this the same mystery man that was lying on the ground at the beginning of the promo? It may be this man may just be injured and may not actually have been killed. Maybe there was a shootout, they got away from the saviors, or they killed those particular saviors and were able to grab the guy and head out. Or this could be Eugene, or it could be Sasha there, or they could have come across Daryl and it could be Daryl. I don't think so though. But as we see in this image though, Abe and Rick are carrying someone. Carl is off to the side. Aaron is behind. So really that only leaves Sasha, because we know she's there, or Eugene, because we know he's there, to have gotten injured into, or the mystery man, you know, to have been injured enough where they need to be carried. Or if by chance Maggie was in the RV and they needed to carry her or something. I think that is like slim chance that they're carrying Maggie in the scene. I think someone was shot and they're trying to escape with them. But kind of one of the biggest moments here, and you don't even really see it, is that in one image they're running and all of a sudden, and it's dark outside, you know, it's nighttime now, and it's dark, and all of a sudden right as the scene cuts, we see a big light thrown onto them. So light is shining on Rick and Abraham there, and it makes me think that this moment when they're running is the moment when they are caught by Negan. I think they probably have some sort of floodlight or you know, headlights of a vehicle, and Rick and group are running, you know, trying to escape maybe someone who's behind them, and all of a sudden they come upon Negan and he's waiting for them, and maybe Daryl and Rosita and Glenn are all there as well. But I think that moment when we see the light shine on Rick's face, I think that is the moment where they've been caught. And we get our first glimpse of Negan. Oh my gosh. I don't know how Jeffrey Dean Morgan can make Negan be so amazing and like sexy at the same time, and his voice, oh my gosh, I've always liked Jeffrey's voice. He has an amazing voice, and so for him to be Negan, I feel so conflicted. You know, when I was reading the comics, I hated Negan. I've always hated Negan. You know, I kind of like him now that he's been imprisoned a long time, but you know, I've never really like been super fond of him. Obviously, he's done a lot of really bad things. But to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan in this role of Negan and his voice, it's like just as sexy as it is terrifying. And I just feel so conflicted because I like him, and yet I know that he's gonna do something really bad and I want to hate him. And I'm probably gonna hate him once I see that moment. We don't actually see his face though, which I'm happy we didn't see his face in the promo. It does leave some kind of suspense there and anticipation for us. We also see Lucille for the first time. Oh, it's so terrifying. And if you see, when we get our first look at the back of Negan, we see at the bottom of the screen, right in the middle, you have to look closely, there is a tip of someone's head. And when we see the back of Negan's head, and he's kind of like, he starts to put his hand up like, oh, like he's thinking, if you remember from the scene in the comics where he's like having difficulty figuring out who he's going to kill. I think that's the scene here where our group is all on their knees and he's trying to decide who he's going to kill. Then when we see Lucille for the first time, right on the bottom left is another head. And this is like he's walking kind of with his bat back and forth in front of the group. And then the final scene, oh my gosh, you guys. The final scene before the promo ends is of Lucille, the baseball bat, pointing at the camera. Now, there has been a very big rumor that the Walking Dead season 6 finale will end with a cliffhanger. Now, the only real possible cliffhanger here is for Negan to be saying eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And that picture here that you're looking at now is of that moment when Negan says mo and picks who's going to get killed. And it's from that person's point of view. So we as fans may not even get to see who is picked until the season 7 premiere. Can you imagine? Let's just take a moment, because this entire second half of the season 6 here, season 6B, I have been saying over and over again, I just want to get this over with. I just want to get this moment where someone is killed in this horrible, cruel, awful way, traumatic way. I just want to see it and get it over with and move on and have time to mourn and have time to grieve over our lost character. And to just the thought that this season could end with a cliffhanger and that death not even happening? Are you kidding me? So I have to wait until season 7 comes just to see this horrible death, and then I have to continue to watch the rest of season 7? I just can't even imagine it. I'm crossing my fingers that I'm totally wrong here, but guys, I think there's a really good chance that we won't know who is picked. And I'm worried too, because if we don't know, and then we have this long season break here, won't it get spoiled for us? I mean, I just think we're bound to get spoiled at some point before season 7 premieres. So that's it for my predictions, you guys. I am so excited and terrified, and just I almost feel sick whenever I think about the finale here. But I think there's a good chance that we're not going to get to see the death that we've been waiting for until season 7. So that makes us wonder, well, will we see someone else die in this episode? You know, not in the same way, but see someone else die, and then that'll be our death, and then we won't get the big death until season 7. I don't know. Okay, you guys, I'm wrapping up this video. If you have any predictions, thoughts, theories for the season 6 finale, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. We have a weekly Walker Talk discussion video coming up next, where I will comment on your comments and answer any questions you guys have. And I will see you guys for the season 6 finale reaction video. I'm gonna be a mess. You guys better be prepared, okay? I love you. I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.